Now we'll be hearing from another incredible group of speakers as they discuss how technology can be used to monitor and protect oceans as well as coastal communities as we face challenges of both ocean pollution and sea level rise. And this will be moderated by Sandra Ponce de Leon. Sandra?
Thank you, Emmy, and thank you so much for hosting this wonderful Earth Summit and panel. I'm so excited by this conversation and some of the conversations I've been hearing put on by AILA. So thank you for all of that. And I'm really excited to introduce my panelists. Before we start, I just want to give myself a quick introduction. I'm Sandra Ponce de Leon. I'm the principal of the Blue Economy Agency. And we are a marketing and PR agency that works with companies and organizations that are looking to bring solutions to regenerate the oceans and also advocate for the acceleration of technologies that can help promote our understanding of the ocean and help us reverse the course that we're currently on. So I'm really excited for this panel, and I want to let my esteemed panelists give themselves an introduction. So with that, I'm going to kick it off to Ersin to give us an introduction and tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ersin Uzun. I have a career on innovation from startups to different R&D centers all over the world, including places close to the North Pole, like Finland. And right now, I'm managing the IoT business as well as new incubation of businesses in that space for Palo Alto Research Center and our parent company, Xerox. Geospatial sensing, especially around oceans, is one of the areas that we are looking at, and we believe there's a tremendous potential and good that we can do. Happy to be part of this panel. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Ersin. Jenny, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Sure. I'm really honored to be part of this panel. I'm Jenny Crusoe. I'm the executive director of AltaSea, Port of Los Angeles. We're a corporation dedicated to renovating and redeveloping a 35-acre piece of property, the Port of Los Angeles, our major partner, into an ocean institute focused on blue economy and its role in mitigating climate change. So AltaSea and our partners are part of a global effort to relaunch the economy with inclusion and sustainability at its foundation. I think everyone's aware that 2 years ago, the UN Intergovernmental on Climate Change published a report on the importance of the critical role of the ocean in solutions to mitigating climate change, which are energy, ocean-based transportation, the protection of marine systems, ocean-based food system, aquaculture, which is one of our businesses, and carbon storage. So our network and our campus are focused on these areas. And a lot of our partners are using AI, beneficial AI, to advance their work. And we see it as a major part of the ocean solution. So happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yanis, how about you? You go next.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Sandra. I'm Yanis. I'm the CEO of Sinay. I have 12 years experience in the ocean tech. I've worked with the French Navy and various maritime industries. At Sinay, we are helping maritime industries to be more sustainable and more profitable using data and artificial intelligence. By example, we provide predictive indicators to better understand the impact of the industries on the ocean. We also provide prediction of port congestion or vessel routes to reduce fuel consumption on CO2 emission. We are 45 people. We did 2 million turnover last year and double every quarter. And I believe that business development and ocean conservation could be connected thanks to artificial intelligence and technologies.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yanis. Paul, why don't you tell us about yourself and your organization?
Thanks, Sandra. Just so happy to be here with everyone. This is such an important area. I'm an ocean guy. My whole life has been all about ocean and coastal areas and working with various international organizations on ensuring we've got a healthy and productive global ocean. And it is one single ocean ecosystem. And so what we do at the World Ocean Council, for which I'm the founding president and CEO, is bring together all of the ocean industries and the entire ocean business and investment ecosystem to really bring that collaboration amongst industries and the finance community to work together on sustainable development. The ocean is used for many different purposes and supports society in so many different ways, and we'll talk about those. And the role of business and industry and investment is critical to ensuring we've got a healthy ocean moving forward.
Wonderful, absolutely. And I love that this panel itself, there's so many synergies amongst the panelists for potential collaboration in the future. And this being the decade of the ocean, the UN has given a global call, mobilization for collaboration amongst industries, amongst government organizations, and the private sector. And, but in spite of that, we really see these fatalistic headlines every day about how 90% of the world's, the ocean's coral will be wiped out by the year 2050. We're going to have more plastic in the ocean, and in that same year, plastic in the ocean than fish in that same year. As well as all the devastation that industrial fishing practices are unleashing on fish stocks. So what really needs to happen for all of these different groups? I mean, obviously the ocean is large, it's 70% of the Earth's land mass. How do we accelerate the collaboration that needs to happen and open these avenues of connection? Paul, maybe I'll start with you, given your organization, the World Ocean Council, and how you're taking an active role in that.
Sure, thanks, Sandra. So this has been a real challenge. It is a big, complex ocean, as you say, more than 70% of the Earth's surface, and a lot of different activities going on in that shared operating space that is also affected by external factors, particularly climate change, of course, overall affecting whatever we do in the ocean is being impacted by that as well. But that collaboration amongst the users of the ocean, which is where we focus, and really the vast majority of human presence in the ocean right now will be amongst the various industries. So we've got 80 to 90,000 merchant ships out there. There's 1.2 million kilometers of submarine cable. There's 3 to 4 million fishing boats. There's tens of thousands of platforms for offshore energy of different sorts and aquaculture and other uses. So all of this activity, though, has been over the decades and centuries, has been in the various sectoral silos, and so the need to connect up those various user industries, and we'll come to the role of technology in being part of that connecting and part of the solution to the challenges. But the need to do that has really been about getting people together around common issues. And so there are challenges, and this is in our experience, and one of the most sort of dynamic parts of what we experienced with the World Ocean Council as it was getting going 10, 12, 15 years ago, was getting the shipping people sitting next to the cruise tourism people, sitting next to the fishing people, and helping them realize that they had a lot of common challenges and issues in the ocean space, and that there was business value in collaborating. And so there's a driver for both solving those issues and being more efficient in identifying and developing technology, and in saving money, and being then more safe and sustainable in your operations by working on many of these issues together, like, just to pick one, the effects of extreme weather events on infrastructure. So understanding the development and propagation and pathways and intensity of hurricanes. Anything we can do to harness technology across the sectors to better understand that will help solve problems for all of those industries and the coastal communities and cities on the shoreline as well.
Absolutely. And I know, Ersin, you have probably quite a bit of experience in this area, given the collaboration of PARC with some governmental agencies. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that initiative and how you see the interplay between private and public sectors.
Thank you, Sandra. Sure. PARC has been in open innovation. We are a believer of collaboration in general for innovation, but ocean, given how vast it is, and it being a shared resource, unlike land, it is really difficult for any single, even government or particular industry to take on the challenges or the opportunities around the oceans. So collaboration is definitely key. Maybe what I should add to Paul said is, it's not just the different industries. I think governments really play a key role here. In fact, history tells us that government interests, such as defense, security, or health of their citizens, can really accelerate the innovation and bring technologies to bear. And those technologies can really help all humanity. Some previous examples are like GPS or the internet. I think ocean is another place that we can use a similar partnership and synergy. In fact, that's why we are working and collaborating with DARPA, Defense Agency Research Arm, in the Ocean of Things program to really expand what we know about the seas. This program aims to develop and deploy small, low-cost drifters in the ocean to collect very rich data. And that data is about the environment as well as human activities and the impact. The richness of the data is quite fascinating. Just to give a few examples, we collect temperature, humidity, air pressure, CO2 levels, ship emissions, algae and plankton populations, surface activities, and even information on the marine life movements. And this is going to be enabling not only some applications for the government, but I think for the whole blue economy industry and their stakeholders. So this data, we believe, can be really shared and used to bring different people to the table, because as Paul said, they have common interests. But a lot of the time, if there is not that initial data or technology that they can really see the fast time to value for themselves. And we believe this can be one of the enablers. And organizations like World Ocean Council and AltaSea and many others are going to play a key role. In fact, we are collaborating already with World Ocean Council to start discussing with their members how we can use the data to help them.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's very exciting. And I know that this ties in very closely to what Yanis is doing at Sinay. But before we give it to him, I want to hear a little bit more about, the local on the ground collaboration that AltaSea is accelerating with the Port of LA.
Sure. I collaboration obviously is happening now, but it needs to happen on steroids, because I agree with everything that's been said. It's a vast problem that has had the need that it has now to be addressed. I mean, we have an all hands on deck situation here, and the ocean has to be given an equal with terrestrial technologies, and it needs to have the authority to do that, and the funding and the government plan is a big part. And it's very clear that the solutions to climate change, which is what we're focused on, have to come from the ocean, because there just isn't the land to do some of the expanse, particularly renewable energy. We have to come together, and I think that is happening. But traditionally has been what has already been identified as kind of the commons, with no real control or authority about how it's going to be used. And as is referenced, I mean, AltaSea is based on the idea of collaboration. We are a multi-tenant organization and network that AltaSea itself is an umbrella to bringing all the voices together cross-sector to move change fast forward, which we need to do. But collaboration, I think we need authority and accountability systems, money, and a massive re-education about the need of sustainability in the ocean. And AI is critical to being able to move fast in exploring the ocean. I love Seabed 2030 in terms of really mapping the ocean of what's there. And that is a huge collaborative effort. So there are these cases, in point of people doing it. So I see a lot of hope.
Wonderful. Yeah, it is an all hands on deck situation. Absolutely. You're 100% right on that. And I love that you talked about, data and AI. And I think that that ties in nicely to what Sinay is doing. So Yanis, what do you think about the question?
Well, thank you, Sandra. So yes, I fully agree with what have been said, and there is a lot of needs to collaborate to collect data at sea, because we always need more data to better understand human activities and the wildlife at sea. But then there is also already a lot of data available. There is a lot of data provided by a government, by industries, which could be used for that. And there is a huge amount of data that we can process. And even for processing the data, collaboration is a key, because an organization cannot have the solution for all the issues of the ocean and all the issues of processing data. So in terms of product, we are a software company. I really believe that the product must have deep connectivities with other products, be able to connect with any type of IoT sensors, or to connect with another product which provide indicators or specific artificial intelligence on a specific topic. So we have to create a network of solutions to have a global view and to go at scale to solve these problems in issues of sustainable oceans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bring up a really interesting topic of connectivity and interoperability, just a mouthful. And Paul, or Ersin or Jenny, do you guys know of any initiatives that are seeking to create that, those kinds of touch points between the different technologies?
Well, there's certainly, overall, there's quite a global community of science and technologists involved in data from the ocean and I think it's important to highlight also the atmosphere above the ocean. And so the weather and climate data and variables are critically important to understanding what's going on with climate change and ocean change. And so overall, there's a well-developed through the UN system. And so we have the World Ocean Council has a partnership agreement with both the UNESCO Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission and the World Meteorological Organization, as well as the International Hydrographic Organization, which you mentioned, CBED, or Jenny mentioned CBED 2030. So all of these areas for which data is being collected and managed has the architecture from the government and intergovernmental side that the academic institutions and the government agencies all feed into, from a national to a regional to a global scale. And so there's a level of interoperability in the sense of data standards and metadata requirements, et cetera, that are being worked on and have been well established, but are continuously being improved. I think really getting into the technical level of interoperability, the sort of things that Ersin and Yanis are working on really gets into that level of detail. But I'll just mention though that a big part of this is from the industry side, though, is in being able to connect up the data that is coming from sources that commercial vessels and platforms, and this is where there's a huge opportunity to augment the data from the user community. I mentioned there's, for example, 80 to 90,000 merchant ships. So if even a small percentage of those were instrumented, and some of them are already, but we really worked into scale that up through what the World Ocean Council calls the Smart Ocean, Smart Industries program, to have more of those instrumented with sensors or participating in the deployment of instruments to be contributing to that data flow. And that's where the interoperability really becomes important, so that you have the kind of crowdsourcing, in a sense, of more data from all of those or many of those commercial vessels possible, but it needs to be collected in a way that the quality of the data is what fits into the international norms and standards, and the quality is assured and has the metadata, et cetera, attached to it. And that's what really makes the potential to significantly scale up the data that we have available from the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, clean data is really, at the core of everything, and data is really such a foundational element to building the solutions that we want for the ocean. Maybe Ersin, you can touch a little bit on this and how you see the sensors that are being deployed and all the massive amounts of collection data points that you're gathering. How do you ensure that can be leveraged for future solution building?
Yeah, so I think Paul already overviewed some of the activities. What I would like to kind of emphasize is that yes, we have data, but ocean is such a complex system that if you really want to model such a complex system, we simply need more of that. AI is here today and improving every day. For certain narrow applications, we might have the data to do the basic reasoning, but really to understand all that complex interaction of different activities, how they correlate with each other, we simply need higher resolution, better data. Because AI, and modeling today requires vast amount of data to create accurate models, and I don't see that changing in the near future. So I think we are making progress, but we are still coming short today in the lack of cost-effective technologies that can provide the resolution and the dense sensing points that we need to be able to really understand that complex system. This doesn't have to be one technology or one source of data. Collaboration is going to be very important, ranging from satellite data to water deployed sensors, and as Paul gave an example, different users of the ocean can also provide some of the data from their operations. And we believe that the work we are doing in Ocean of Things is just going to help reduce that gap in terms of availability of that rich data. We are looking at the different repositories of data, both in the academy, government, and also private sector, and already start planning on how this data from different deployments that we might be doing both in US but also overseas, we can contribute to that broad knowledge around the oceans that everybody can take advantage of.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, that's fascinating. Jenny or Yanis, did you want to discuss how your views on data and how you're leveraging it? I mean, maybe from a port perspective, it's just a bit of a smaller amount of data that you're looking at. I mean, although there's so many different data points, do you see that maybe that's the way to grow understanding is, taking a localized approach and expanding from there?
I think that the importance of ocean data leads to its own kind of marketing, and how it can really make sustainable solutions what we need to be doing to help our planet. Because I don't think people act except with some, when you start thinking about what Microsoft is doing with Nature Conservancy and Esri to really connect tourism to the coral reefs, then people start the reality of what data can do in a way that both the capitalistic corporations can understand, but also everyday people can understand and be able to connect to in a way. I'm not a scientist. It's fairly clear, but so sometimes you get really nervous when you're talking about data and how it can really affect your life. But I mean, it really is the key to moving forward quickly and really solving these critical problems for the planet. But we need to people to understand its role and its role in protecting the ocean. Metal is a big issue right now. I mean, obviously mining is out of the question, but AI can be part of deciding how to harvest the polymetallic nodules. I mean, something that Deep Green is working on. because we need these metals for the renewable energies that we must, transfer to. But there are, you don't want to, hurt the ocean. But these data is the way that we can make, educated and important choices of how to move forward. So, and I think that we need to really work with all governments in funding this. I mean, why aren't there opportunity zones for the ocean? And the ocean needs to be attached to farm bills so that the insurance issues and the business of farming on land, those benefits are in the ocean. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Absolutely, 100%. I think you're talking about sustainable deep sea mining, which I had not heard before, but okay, with AI, maybe that's possible. Yanis, I know that you have a lot of experience, building off AI and data and developing, different applications. And I think that this is really sort of the inspiration, the jumping off point we want, to see what are those monetization those monetization opportunities for the business sector, and develop and build off of that. So maybe talk a little bit about what you're doing in these areas.
Yes, I would like to give some examples on how we use data, and then how we process those data, and then how our the users of our software use those data to improve their activities. So the first one is about underwater noise. So all human activities such as shipping, oil and gas, offshore wind farm produce a lot of noise underwater, and this noise affects the marine life, such as marine mammals. So we use data of vessel position, which is provided by AIS data. So each ship have sensors which provide the position of the vessel in real time. So we use the ship position, we use then information about the water temperature, the salinity, the bathymetry, and so on. And thanks to complex algorithm, we are able to produce underwater noise map. So we can produce those maps thanks to high performance computing on a large scale, very large scale, such as Mediterranean Sea or Atlantic Seas. And then we have other algorithms which produce marine mammal maps, habitat, where do they live. And we correlate those two maps, and then we have critical zones where the human activities impact the wildlife. And this information is used today by 23 countries to then provide mitigation regulation on how to reduce the impact of these industrial activities on the marine mammals. So this is a concrete way how we can use all the data provided by the government, by the industries, and process it to create new information which provide actionable insight to create mitigation measure. Another example is about port and shipping. So most of the time, we don't really know when a ship arrives to the port. So it creates huge port congestion. And the last days, there was huge congestion in port of Los Angeles. And we use this ship position, thanks to AIS, to train with machine learning combined with the weather, the wind, the wave, to predict vessel route and arrival time. So thanks to that, we can provide a view on port congestion and optimize the ship route in order to reduce fuel consumption, so CO2 emission. So this is also very interesting because it's good for business, because when you reduce fuel consumption, you reduce your cost, and you reduce also your waiting time at port. And it's good for the planet because we can reduce the CO2 emission as well. So for me, it's two important examples how we can use the data and make it actionable insight, which is good for business and good for the planet.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think those are really great examples of leveraging the data and, building really effective applications that are, good for business and also for the planet and for the ocean, and saving all that cetacean and marine life as well. Jenny, what are you seeing?
Could I
Please,
just jump
go
in
ahead,
there?
Paul. Yes.
Those were great examples, Yanis, and I think this is really, the importance of thinking about data and the use of data and moving into AI applications in the ocean as, excuse me, as we have increasingly an instrumented ocean, both the great work that's going on with Ersin and the floats and the monitors there, the science programs that are out there, as well as the satellite data. And so putting these together, we're increasingly able to, it's increasingly possible to do the sorts of things that Yanis and his great company is doing, focusing on issues, and as he says, actionable intelligence that then industry and individual companies and governments can use to help address these problems. And so it's really this partnership between the data gatherers, the data users, the modelers, and also I just really emphasize the satellite side of things, and that the communication, the transfer of the data, not only collecting data by through Earth observation satellites, but also the movement of that data via satellites is becoming an important part of this, to be able to work more real time. And that's really evolving very steadily now, and particularly will, I think, explode within. We've had several people talk about it at our annual Sustainable Ocean Summit in the sessions on the digital ocean and big ocean data. With the microsatellite systems that are getting launched, there's going to be an availability of data over the ocean space and on ocean parameters that's just going to really expand considerably in the coming years. I'd also want to touch upon there's a human element to all of this, and that this data and the communications capabilities then for vessels and platforms really helps with the lives of those men and women that are out there to bring society the food, the energy, the marine transport, et cetera, that this global economy depends on. And so I just really want to help people understand that this is all about people at sea who do this for all of us, for the global, that really is the underpinning of the global economy, as we saw so starkly illustrated a couple of weeks ago with the blockage of the Suez Canal. That really was an eye-opener for so many people who aren't familiar with how much the global economy depends on maritime transport amongst the other sectors as well. And so we see this data and this connectivity and communication opportunities really helping to improve the not only the sustainability aspects, but also the safety and the quality of life at sea for these men and women that work so hard to support the global economy and what they do. And that there are great efforts underway using technology and data to address then illegal operations, to ensure that we understand what kind of safety impacts and security are affecting operations of industry. So there's a whole plethora of applications here, and to be again building on the great examples from Yanis, focused on issues, actionable intelligence, and concrete outcomes that can improve then safety, sustainability, quality of life for maritime workers and operations is really the promise here. And there's just incredible promise as we connect up all these pieces.
That's right. I mean, the ocean is, while facing such a myriad of challenges today, but it also holds so many of the solutions. And not all the solutions are technological solutions either, but I think the technology can help us advance those ecological solutions, things like seaweed farming or kelp farming, that helps with CO2 sequestration and other types of more ecological solutions to help clean up, different areas of the ocean. But I'd love to kind of continue to the conversation on other, winning monetization models for the blue economy. Ersin or Jenny, would you like to chime in on what you're seeing?
Yeah, I think Yanis and Paul made a great point. We are in a century where data is shown to be the new currency for a lot of the business world, and In fact, maybe an analogy that we can draw from mobile phones, right? So, when smartphones came in with a bunch of sensors in them, and they were collecting data and making it available, a lot of the applications that we see in millions in the app stores today that actually makes use of that data in different ways and create different monetization models. We did not even imagine that at the beginning, right? But that availability of data combined with the customer-led innovation that's happening everywhere in the world, you understand the pain points and you look for how to solve it. And when the data is there, usually it is just the nature that we create that solution. I believe we are going to see the same progression here, and as I said, what we are trying to do is make that data more rich and higher resolution. Yes, before the smartphones, we could still predict the congestion in traffic, but it was nowhere near as accurate as today when you had, a real-time data of, how each car and people are moving at what speed. Now we can get, within seconds, problems around the congestion and accidents. That was not possible. Or the models that we had were giving us a good idea, but we're not really accurate. And an example that Yanis said, they have excellent models on predicting the noise, but I think everybody could use with thousands of hydrophones that our floaters has to further fine-tune those models so that we can have much more accurate understanding of that complex system. I think Yanis already talked about few specific use cases. From the top of my mind, I think aqua farming, fishing is really an industry that can use that data not only to optimize their business but also really protect the ocean while they are doing their job. Invasive species are, especially with the climate change, is becoming a real problem. We really need to understand, how our activities are moving these invasive species across the ocean, and we really need to protect the ocean from what we are doing or what the invasive species are causing. Route planning, Yanis already talked about it. Environmental protection and enforcement is, I think, another big topic here that the governments and many agencies as well as nonprofits have a huge interest. Clean energy initiatives, as Jenny said, there are a lot of ways to harvest energy. Wind farms on oceans to solars to really capture the energy of the waves, but even basically use the salinated water to actually get energy, which Google X, in fact, we collaborated with them, worked on that for a while. So that's another area that I believe more data can really help us plan better. Preventing illegal trafficking of human, of material, of drugs. Now that's a big problem for the humanity overall. It might not be what we call blue economy, but guess what? More than half of the drugs are carried over oceans. Today with submarines. So it's when we have the data, I think the humanity is creative enough to really create the solutions. At the end of the day, key ocean assets are over at $25 trillion in value. We create annual value of goods and services that are over $3 trillion today, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more value that we can get from that vast asset. It is the least instrumented part of the world. As we understand it more, we know how to get more value out of it.
Thank you. Yeah, those are some wonderful examples. And Jenny, did you have anything to add?
I wanted to just add to what Paul said briefly, that it's not just the the people on sea, the community of the workers on the ocean. It's also the community around the ports, because some of these bringing down the emissions of the shipping. I live in the port of Los Angeles in San Pedro. There's been data that shows that asthma in this community is going down because of some of these technologies that are bringing down the carbon emissions of the shipping industry here. So it also helps the communities on land the more these technologies are implemented. I mean, we are talking about the emerging blue economy, and AltaSea partnered with the LA Economic Development Corporation to do a study last year of the jobs that are going to be generated in Los Angeles County for the blue economy. And, you know, emerging sectors need more, you know, I keep going back to funding, but they, you know, need to have investors feel that the risk isn't so high. And one of those is sensors in particular in aqua farm and floating and wind solar. You really need to, if the more you know about what's happening in these farms, the better you can mitigate the risk, and then investors are better when you're you know, are more comfortable investing, and you can get over the blue premium or green premium that is, you know, always exists in new industries, but particularly ocean, it's a costly thing. The only other thing I could add is something that I have been tracking that I think is going to really help the aquaculture industry, is the use of blockchain technologies in really tracking from seed to table the seafood industries, and being able to get some of the waste and really understand how to bring down costs. And I think that's really exciting that that's coming and being connected more to aquaculture and seaweed farming.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think, yeah, that's well, I mean, Seaspiracy, which is, I think, a bit of controversial film, but, you know, also kind of highlights, you know, the labeling issue of seafood. And so, yes, I think that the blockchain and being able to track the source and, you know, confirm that it's, you know, what you're eating is what you're getting, or what you wanted, and not a fish that's overfished, is very important.
But it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, sorry, just to build on what Jenny said, you know, it's a real problem that businesses can go down for that, right? You know, in the aqua farming, an example of, you know, around shellfish is that if you farm your shellfish at the wrong time, you know, during an algae bloom, you know, and you send it to testing, and then it comes that it's over a threshold. Now you have to dump all that harvest, right? It just goes to trash. Now, you know, that's a devastating thing for, you know, the ocean, for our food supply chain, but also the business. So we are talking about real, you know, money that can be made or lost if you do not really understand, you know, what's going on in your business. And data is key in enabling some of those sectors to be definitely more you know, better in their operations. Sorry, Jenny, I cut you off. I just wanted to, you know, make that point, because we are talking with a shellfish company that has suffered from such an event that that's in our radar, how to solve that.
No, perfect. I was done.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'd love to, you know, kind of end on a positive note, something that, you know, refutes like a lot of the current data points that we're looking at. 2050 seems to be this, you know, looming date ahead of us, where, you know, the ocean runs out of fish and there's more plastic, and basically, you know, it's the end of the ocean as we know it. So I'd love to hear from all of you in terms of, you know, what are the positive outcomes that you'd like to see or envision for the year 2050? Where do you see us being there?
Okay, I can.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Yanis.
Okay, no, I will just want to say that for my opinion, today we have everything to combine development of human activities at sea and ocean conservation at the same time. It's not something which is opposed. We can connect this together And I do believe that the data, the technologies will help for that. And my dream is that in 2050, we can continue to develop business at sea while protecting the ocean at the same time, and which is not something which is opposed, thanks to all the data, all the technology, all the information that we have. So I really do believe this is the direction that we are going. And to go in that scale, I do believe also what have been said by panelists, we need more funds inside. So this could be fund from government, but also fund from the industries and fund from the investors, capital. So thanks to that, we can reach these dreams to have this harmony between human business and ocean conservation.
Absolutely.
That's Yanis. That's really well stated. I think that's the challenge and the opportunity here is to really to connect at that scale. We need these goods and services that the ocean provides, and there are companies and entrepreneurs working to provide those goods and services, and in a way that's safe and sustainable and responsible. And so using data as, getting back to our starting point of collaboration, data really becomes and the use of it becomes an area of collaboration across the sectors within the business community, and linking to the investors, but then also to broader society and certainly government and the regulators, but also dealing with the social license for different kinds of activities at sea to take place, and also dealing with the risk. And Jenny, thanks for highlighting the coastal communities, and that's a really important part of this. This is where we all live on land, mostly, other than these folks that are working at sea. And a big part of the risk to coastal cities and communities is from extreme weather events that emanate on the at sea. And so the data to understand and model those that I alluded to early on, and the adaptation of ports and coastal infrastructure to ensure we've got sustainable and resilient infrastructure so that people can live safely and reduce that risk. And that then brings in the investors to help make those changes that allow ports and coastal communities to be secure and resilient. I'd also like to just add on to your point, well, 2 points just to finish off in terms of hope for the future and the long term. The ocean is our biggest, is the planet's biggest sink for CO2 sequestration. And so a big part of the coming decades is going to be understanding and enhancing the role of the ocean as that carbon sink. So carbon dioxide removal and reduction in the ocean will be an incredibly important aspect of tackling climate change, creating important business opportunities, but also risks and challenges. We need to do it very carefully. And this is where the sort of data at the resolution that Ersin and his work is providing, and the sort of modeling of effects and secondary effects that Yanis and software developers are doing are going to be critical to developing and implementing that role of the ocean and enhancing its role as the carbon sink that's going to be a big part of meeting the climate change targets that are challenging us all. And just the last point on the conservation side, understanding the ocean and being able to model and monitor impacts from industry is going to be critical to then interfacing with the conservation targets that are coming. There's a 30 by 30 target of 30% of the planet, including 30% of the ocean, to be protected by 2030. We need to understand and make sure that industry is able to be a supportive part of that by monitoring and understanding real risk and real impact based on real data. And then having, as Yanis is saying, that partnership between the conservation objectives of the global society that we all participate in and our economic needs and the opportunities of the ocean.
Absolutely. Jenny or Ersin, did you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I'm full of... Go ahead.
I'm cautiously optimistic. Go ahead, Jenny.
I'm very optimistic, but I kind of I was born that way. But I see a lot of change just in the 5 years that I've you know, AltaSea, at the beginning of AltaSea, we weren't even allowed to talk about climate change in the ocean because it was too political. I mean, I really think we're going into a renaissance of technology, of people embracing it and understanding it. And my hope for 2050 is that we've met our goals. I mean, someone asked me the other day on panel, like, why do we work so hard? I mean, it's because I have children. I mean, it's like we have to embrace this. We have to learn a new culture of collaboration to be able to work together and meet these goals that are so important to all of us, no matter what background. And it's a lot of listening, and it's a lot of trying to figure out, as I said earlier, how people can speak the same language. But I know we're going to make it, and I'm full of hope.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that. I call myself a techno optimist as well. So I am also extremely hopeful. And I also see, the role of storytelling and the role of, the amplification of stories and, providing that inspiration to everyone so that because it's like you said, all hands in or effort and on deck, all hands on deck. Thank you. All hands on deck. And yeah, we need to inspire people like the AI LA community as well to become involved and provide their skills and talents to the effort. It's so important.
And our strength is really the next generation who really do understand AI and are the solution to our future. I mean,
yes, absolutely. I do see we have one question from the audience, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this out. This is from Carrie. Yesterday, one of the panelists on the fire discussion talked about how difficult it is to use a lot of the data that's in possession and has been created by government agencies, and the need to care about the market desire to privatize, own, or monetize data. And I wonder how you see that latter fact operating in the ocean's context. In other words, how do we honor what needs to happen for the commons and prevent private ownership and or profiteering from critical public data?
So maybe I should take it. There are examples, I actually gave to like the internet or the GPS that, that was developed and then later made available to all the private companies that they can build their businesses using or utilizing those technologies. I don't see why, given the nature of ocean, as I said, it is being vast, a shared resource and not really one entity owning it. Satisfied some of that criteria, at least in my mind, for that data being available and accessible. There might be some costs to access to that data, to support the infrastructure that is needed to enable that access, like you're paying your internet provider, when you're subscribing to the service. But I had some conversations, and I think we are aligned, at least in our program with DARPA, that this is a data that could definitely serve some of the government agency and their applications and interests. But it is, that's why it has all these environmental sensors that this data can really help various industries and overall humanity and how to protect our future. And I think that we'll see that happening, not only in this project but also in other government initiatives as well. And I also see a lot of the research projects and the deployments that collected data in the past through academic or other private engagements. Pretty much all that data is available. It might not be in the most usable form because there was not enough investment to clean it up and provide the nice interfaces that you can call from your application and get a clean data. It might not be there, but the data is there. I think we need to really start thinking about how to create that infrastructure and make it more accessible and usable, and technologies, which I see myself as one of them. We are the ones that really need to open that conversation and help all these industries to see the benefit. Yanis made a comment about funding. It's sometimes how you communicate and how you make them understand the value so that they can start investing in it. And you go to a small fishing company, initially they might just ask you, how this will help me, catch more fish. And you need to change the conversation to, look, this might not allow you to catch more fish, it might, but really what we're talking about is that you might not have a business in a decade. So we are trying to prevent that from happening. So let's work together. So it's really important how you make different stakeholders understand the value proposition and come together. I think AI, technology, as well as the organizations like World Ocean Council, AltaSea, and others have a tremendous role, including the government agencies, to create that collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, we have just a few minutes left, so I just would like to hand it off to my panelists if you have any closing thoughts and thoughts you'd like to end with.
I'll jump in and just with a point here, building on this great discussion, that the opportunities here to really link sort of public good, public data with the opportunities for the private sector to be both collecting data and the users of data. And I think Yanis is a great example of that. Using public data to create as an incentive for creating products and services that certain parts of the private sector then will pay for. But it creates a public good in the sense that then we're better addressing port congestion, from the example he gave, or better addressing industry impacts on marine mammals. So that transition from use of public data by an entrepreneur to create an output that helps industry operate more responsibly benefits everyone. And that's the kind of relationship I think that really developed here. And then if we can augment that data with the kinds of amazing programs like the Ocean of Things that Ersin is working on, or the Smart Ocean, Smart Industries program that we are developing to get more industry to contribute data, you've got a sort of a virtuous cycle there that helps us better understand and responsibly use and manage the ocean. And I think, along with the others here, I'm an optimist and believe that this confluence of societal needs and interests, technology, and data will be how we understand and manage the ocean, and, as we've touched upon, importantly, contribute to addressing our climate crisis. And we need to be focused on this and bringing, as Jenny was saying, the coming generation that are so technology savvy, they're going to help drive this. And so let's work on this stuff together.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a wonderful conversation. I just want to thank you all for your participation and for also what you're doing as ocean actionists and leaving the world a better place. I think we're all in alignment and wanting to be able to always take advantage of what the ocean provides for us and leave it for future generations. So I just want to thank everybody, and I will hand it off to Emmy